Welcome back, tributes, to episode 39 of Into the Arena. I'm Annabelle Indigo,
And I'm Peggy Blue.
and we have another amazing episode for you today, but just some small announcements, nothing too crazy. Join us for Tribute Talk tomorrow. It's going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the usual. And then, just on another note, Ballad starts filming in around a month from now. When
Oh
does
my
this come out?
gosh.
The 11th. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for it. I cannot wait.
Give us
So,
the leak set photos. That's all I need.
same. That's all any of us needs. But I mean, we got the teaser trailer, and if you haven't heard us talk about that, we talked about it in last week's tribute talk. So go check that out. And hopefully, we just keep getting more and more content. But today's episode is ballad related, so that's exciting.
Yay.
And it's all about the Covey. So I'm so excited. I feel like I needed to do this episode personally because I don't know. It's still hard for me to decipher who is who. And I feel like such a bad fan saying that. But again, the first time I read Ballad, it was just name drop, name drop, name drop. And
So many
so I
new
need to clarify
characters.
it.
Yeah. Holly, you recommended this episode idea, and immediately I was like, oh, this is good for me because I don't remember the Cubby at all. Like,
Mhm. Yeah, no, when you said that, I was like, at least I'm not the only one, to be honest with you.
honestly, they're not really my favorite characters or a standout character. There's so many new characters in Ballad, and they're not huge to like the plot, I guess. But in thinking about them for this episode, I feel like I really like the Covey.
Yeah, no, I think what I enjoy the most about the Covey is the hidden meanings behind like their
Yes.
names, and I mean the music they perform. The research that I did for this episode was like opened my eyes to so many things that I feel like were like right in front of me, but I also feel as though people are gonna not see the same things I saw. So I hope I'm not just like this lone duck, unsure of what's going on. But I know that everything Suzanne does is for a purpose, usually. And so I am really amazed by the amount of effort and background she put into these like smaller characters. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm always amazed by how much depth and like detail and research Suzanne puts into things. It makes me want another book just for, I don't know, more things to learn about and dig into. I, previous to this, have been reading a really cool Hunger Games textbook called District 12,
Mm-hmm.
and it's by Thomas Paradis, I think. And half of it is about the geography of District 12 and Appalachia, and the other half is about the songs of the region.
Oh,
So I
whoa.
was reading that, and there's a lot about the Cubby in there. So I feel like a lot of the things I'm going to say are things that I read in that book. So just shout out.
Yeah,
It's
no,
a really cool book. I hope we
I'm
get
excited.
him on the podcast. That would be really awesome.
Yeah, especially after having Dr. Kamisha Russell on here. I think it opened my eyes to so many things beyond like the history of Appalachia and the history of, I mean, we knew about Suzanne using like all these names from like the Roman Empire, all these things from this and this and this. And so it's like, I need to learn more about this world because clearly I haven't even like scraped the top of the surface right now. So I'm excited to hear
Hmm.
what you have to say.
Cool.
I just thought we would start the Cubby part of the episode with a quote that I thought was so cute from Lucy Gray. My family were Covey, first and last, not district, not capital, not rebel, not peacekeeper, just us. And I love that quote. It's just so sweet. And I think obviously the most defining part of the Covey is that they're not district nor capital. And so that's a big difference that Choreo seems to make sure that we understand every time throughout Ballad that they're not district. So they're not the ones that he has this hatred towards. But then again, he could be like us, he could be from the capital. So again, I think that's such an interesting line because from what we've known from the original trilogy is either district or capital. But the Covey, who are these people who travel throughout Panem, are none of those things. So
I wish we had heard the Covey talk more about life outside of District
Mm-hmm.
12 or what they had seen, because Coriolanus kind of asks about it, but they don't really go into detail about anything. And I'm like, Suzanne, this was your
Yeah.
chance. This was
Come
your
on.
way to explain a little bit more about the world outside of like the district fences. But
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah, she
Just tease
definitely
us.
did that on purpose, I'm sure, because that's another big factor of the Hunger Games is wondering if there is anyone outside of Panem or if it's just Panem. So again, the Covey represent this very important aspect of the world of Panem and the Hunger Games.
I feel like it does answer the question a little bit. Like, are there people outside of the districts though? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there have to be. Like, this
Yeah.
group, the Covey, got stuck in District 12, but I'm assuming there were more people than just them who were kind of roaming around. And I'm sure there were other groups who were not too close to a district border to kind of get roped into that crackdown.
Then you'd have to almost imagine, I guess, if you're looking at countries too, or surrounding Panem, if there are, like what kind of borders those countries would have then, if it's so easy to wander into Panem, or maybe they're just like, get into Panem, we don't care what happens to you. There's a
I feel
war
like
going
they
on.
could be in Panem, but I mean, the districts are so small and like
Yeah.
there's space, open
Hmm.
space between each of the districts.
Yeah.
So maybe they end up like finding people when they build the arenas
Hmm.
and end up turning them into A boxes or whatever.
So hopeful.
Yeah.
um
Hunger Games is a very, very hopeful book.
Oh, yes. Something to make you feel happy this Sunday afternoon. I didn't know, first of all, if we dissect who the Covey are and what they represent, I didn't realize that Covey means a flock of birds.
Yeah, isn't that
Did
wild?
you know that? I didn't know that.
I think I knew that, but then yeah, I solidified it for this episode. Like, oh,
Yeah.
well, very aptly named.
Yeah. So that was one thing where I was like, it's right in my face. And I feel like if I don't know, maybe other people won't know. So another thing that I was researching, this was just on the like Hunger Games fandom wiki. So nothing too extreme, but they had mentioned that the way that the Covey entertains and lives a nomadic lifestyle can kind of be reflective of the Romani people, which they said
Hmm.
that they did research on is what Suzanne was like most likely going towards representing. So again, just more of like a historical background of who these nomads were in Panem.
I feel like as much as Lucy Gray says that the Covey are not District 12, I feel like the lines are blurred a little bit, like not knowing their ethnicity and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes their ethnicity being described as similar possibilities to what the Seams ethnicity is.
Yeah.
And also going into like their music, it seems like when we read The Hunger Games, the style of music that the Covey does is so ingrained in the tradition of District 12. Like at Finnegan and his wedding, when like the music is playing, it's like similar to Covey music. So I'm like, did the Covey introduce music in its entirety to District 12, or
Mm.
was that at all already a part of their kind of culture?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would argue that they could be the ones introducing
Like
like
they
folk
started it.
music. Yeah, because it
I
does
kind of feel
become,
like that's the case.
because yeah, then they ended up having to settle there. So that would have had the biggest impact on District 12 compared to the other districts where like we don't know much about them, but folk music is typically put more towards District 12.
But also, the Covey were not performing for very long in District 12. And then it kind of disappeared, right?
Yeah,
So I don't know. I'm like, is that enough time for that to have such an impact on the culture of District 12?
I think it is because I think with songs like The Hanging Tree, which was created by Lucy Gray, it's like having such a pushback on the political atmosphere in District 12 and in the country, using music as a form of rebellion would have stuck, I guess, if members of the Covey were to like live there, or people remembered like being able to be creative with their words and with their thoughts through music during a short period of time.
As the Capitol probably tried to repress that as well, it would probably become something that the district would latch onto. It's like, no, this is something that's ours. Like, you can't tell us what not to do.
Yeah, songs have been used, and especially ballads have been used throughout history as a way to like communicate with each other, but also to storytell and also to rebel against the oppressor. So I feel like that would be, maybe that's another thing that Suzanne Collins is trying to get across with that. But that's a good point. I never really like thought about the timeline.
I'm like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Where did the music come from first?
But again, like Suzanne Collins focuses so much on the folk music of the Appalachia area. So it's like, I don't know. That's a good question.
One thing that I came across and learned in a place called District 12, I'm just obsessed with this book.
Like, yes, I want to read it now.
But it said that a bluegrass band traditionally has 6 instruments in it.
Oh.
Which I'm like, oh, there's 6 members of the Covey. Like, that exactly works out. So I feel like there's a reason too behind why there are 6 members in the group, which is kind of cool.
Definitely Suzanne doing her research again. So let's go through the members of the Cubby. So first we have Lucy Gray, obviously. Lucy Gray,
the main character.
But one thing, when I was looking into names of each of them, am I just like not understanding Suzanne's ideas when I first read them? Because people kept mentioning that Gray takes a second name from winter, which is a parallel to snow, and that emphasizes their connection. Like, did I never get that?
That's like stretching a little bit.
No, like a few people had written about that, and I was like, did I miss something here, guys? So of course we have Lucy Gray, but I mean, if it's a stretch, if it's not, but I don't know if that was something I did not pick up, but I mean, out.
Okay. I guess it kind of does connect to snow, because in the actual poem itself, she is lost in a snowstorm, right?
So
I think it's more that than like gray, the color.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I mean, she's killed by snow. She's killed by snow.
Yeah, there we go.
In the poem.
And then of course we have the amazing Maud Ivory Baird. So Lucy Gray and Maud are they cousins? Right?
See, that's something I thought reading it that they were cousins. And then I feel like after reading it, I heard a lot of people say that they're not real cousins, but I think they are. She says in the book, I have a couple of cousins and the rest of the Cubby. So I think Lucy Gray, Maud Ivory, and Barb Azur are actual cousins.
Yeah, that would make sense. Because Tam Amber is the only one without a last name.
Right. He's the only one that's not related to
Clay.
anybody.
Yeah.
And then Clerk Carmine and Billy Tope are brothers.
Yeah.
This is why
so I was
confusing.
When I was reading about them, I was like creating this tree
family
diagram.
Tree, this web.
It's like, okay, so here's Lucy, and then she's related to Maud and Barb because they all have the same last names. But then over here we have a Clerk, and then we have Billy. But then Tam is just floating in the middle, like.
But doesn't that mean then that Lucy Gray is related to Katniss, because Lucy Gray and Maud Ivory are related?
Yeah, sounds right.
They're not she's not a direct descendant of Lucy Gray, but she is related to Lucy Gray, which I'm fine with. I'm like, she's related. That's fine.
And I feel like there's
it could
only
be like third cousins. I mean,
like District 12 is small, so I feel like the population, like if you're like cousin down the line, like, you know what I mean? Whereas in other districts like District 11, it's huge. I don't know.
yeah, for me, it just doesn't really change anything, but
Yeah.
they're real cousins or they're not.
Then so we have Lucy, Maud, Tam plays the mandolin. I had to write down their instruments so I'd understand who they
Yeah, I
were.
had to Google mandolin, what
Yeah,
it
same.
looks like.
Same. And
And I
then
forgot, I was looking up Tam Amber, and there's a quote saying that he riveted the crowd with his lightning fast fingering on the mandolin. Like, oh, that's cool.
yeah,
Which he's very talented.
he's very talented. Bravo.
Just to note that. Um, I feel like it is kind of supports the reason that I think the music is like very fast paced for the ballads, which I feel like some people imagine them kind of like slower, but
Okay.
I'm like, I like the energetic. When I hear the songs in my head, they're way more upbeat. And I feel
Mhm.
like that's supported by the lightning fast fingering.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, so I took that description and I was like trying to remember like maybe he could be this character from the original trilogy. Maybe he could be this character. I don't know. Like who plays these instruments?
They're all dead. No, I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, Tam Amber was also found in a cardboard box left on the side of the road when he was a baby.
Which, hold on, I have a quote about that. Did you look
Okay.
up anything about his name?
I kind of looked up their names. I kind of like took some away, but because he was like just a baby, like we know that they referred to him as Lost Soul. And then I connected that to the Mockingjay song, Lost Souls.
Oh, that's cool.
That's a stretch.
I love that connection.
Tam Amber came from Tamlin Child Ballad 39, a very
Yes.
famous ballad of the Queen of the Fairies abducting a young man and a human Janet, a property owner pregnant with his child, wrestling him away from the Queen of the Fairies. He was stolen by the fairies. So the Covey could be the fairies. I don't know. Susanna's getting like very, very detailed here.
Yeah, she must have so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like having the idea, okay, I'm gonna have the Covey, but like, okay, what am I gonna name each of them? What's like the coolest, ballad that I can find that will explain
Yeah.
like who they are? That sounds super fun.
See, if I were to be a writer, I would just be like, oh, your name is like Sam, or I don't know, like Chris, or I don't know. She gets to do all of this. So I agree with you. She has fun, but also it's just so interesting. I think it's fun for us to like piece together all these
Find the
reasonings.
clues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have Clerk Carmine Clade, who is Billy's brother, and who actually was confirmed by Suzanne. I'm not spreading a lie, I promise, that made it to the original trilogy. But we
Where
can talk
did
about that
she
later.
confirm that? I forget.
So, let me look. So, the American bookstores, Barnes and Noble. This is from online, obviously. Like I'm quoting this. Barnes and Noble hosted an Instagram live discussion between two of the book's editors, David Levithan and Katie Egan. During that discussion, Levithan stated that Suzanne Collins told him that Clerk Carmine was in Finnick and Annie's wedding. And so because it was an Instagram live, they didn't end up saving it because this was like right when Ballad was being released. They were doing a bunch of like questions
Dang.
about it.
The heck?
I know. So Clerk is the fiddler at Annie and Finnick's wedding in District 13, which
That's
means
amazing.
so
He'd be in like his late 70s. Like, I mean, that
yeah.
makes sense.
I'm confused because do we know if that fiddler was from District 12 and then was saved and taken to District 13? Or was he always in District 13?
No, he came from District 12, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure. Wait, let me find my handy dandy Kindle
Yes.
app, or I can just search anything. It's fantastic. It says the 300 lucky guests culled from 13 and the many refugees wear their everyday clothes. The decorations are made from autumn foliage. The music is provided by a choir of children accompanied by the lone fiddler who made it out of 12 with his instrument.
So we have confirmation that a Covey member survived Ballad and lived in 12.
Love that he grabbed his fiddle.
I know, he's like, go. Gail's like,
Gotta
let's
have
go.
this. Like, it's his instrument is his whole life.
Well, yeah, tied to Lucy Gray, tied to the Covey. Yeah. But
That
well,
really makes me wonder if Suzanne knew that at the time. Like, I mean, I
I
don't know.
know. That's the thing. I'm like,
Like,
you could
I
always
want to
go
know
back.
how much of ballad she had thought about or didn't prior
Yeah.
to writing the novel.
Because I mean, like, I'd also be like, if she came up with all of this afterwards and created these links, I'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, that's awesome that you went back and made that connection for us. But if she did it before, just like, I have a feeling she did it before because she has to mention that the guy with the fiddle made it from 12. I don't like, why would you emphasize that? I don't understand that.
Or it's just really lucky that she was like, oh,
Yeah.
somebody with a fiddle. I mean, clearly she likes this type of music, and
Hmm.
I don't know, it was fitting for District 12. Music needed to be played in some form at the wedding.
Yeah.
She puts in a lot of details anyway.
Hmm.
So she just mentioned the instrument and was just able to use that connection later.
Yeah.
But I like to think that she had a little bit of it planned
Yeah.
previously.
Just an idea of him coming from, I don't know. But then you've got to connect the Covey to Lucy Gray, and then Lucy Gray to Snow, and then Snow to Tigress, and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't get this woman, to be honest with you.
Genius. Genius.
Yeah, and then we have Barb Azure Bard.
Who plays the bass? I think
Yeah, she does.
Coriolanus mentions a large fiddle.
Her name comes from the Ballad of Barbara Allen, which is considered the world's most collected English language folk ballad. Also, this has nothing to do with it, but I just have to fit it in because it's Pride Month. But also, I feel like she might be a lesbian, and I'm gonna say this because
I think so, because
yeah,
doesn't someone say that a neighbor comes over to visit her
yeah,
and they're spending the night together or something? I
and so
do
they were
not remember the
happy.
exact quote.
Yeah, it was something along the lines of, I didn't know this until I was reading about her, not actually reading the book part. Um,
Oh,
but
you didn't catch that while reading the book?
no,
Oh,
I did
wow.
not. But it had mentioned that I think it was when they were all going out to the meadow or to the lake that one day. And
Yeah.
she was with a neighbor who was also a female. And then for some reason, Snow mentioned seeing that she looked happy that they had the place to themselves. So happy Pride Month from Miss Barb
Barbazor.
Baird. Woo! Gotta fit it in there. Pretty much it for Barb, who would be related to Lucy now, as Emily confirms.
I feel like somehow I'm wrong about that, but I don't know. They have the same last name,
Yeah.
Baird.
And then last we have Billy Top, who is obviously the worst and we hate him. And but also he intrigues me at the same time.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
He plays the accordion,
Woohoo.
which is kind of cool.
Accordion man.
And it was pointed out by a place called District 12 that he carries it around everywhere. Like, even when he's not participating with the Covey, like, he has it slinged around his back. And it just, like, points out how much of his, like, identity is wrapped up in, like, being part of the Covey, even though he's been, like, pushed out.
Yeah,
And
that's
with his
interesting.
instrument, which I thought was neat.
I think it's interesting because he chooses not to align himself with the Covey based on his actions with Mayfair. Again,
I
just
mean, he just wanted everything, I
yeah,
guess.
he wanted his cake and he wanted to eat it too.
Billy Tope's instrument is not an accepted standard instrument of a bluegrass ensemble, so perhaps it was very symbolic that Billy Tope was left on the outside looking in, his accordion and all. His instrument therefore serves as a reliable metaphor for his own outsider status with the Covey. I was
Wow.
like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Again, more information I never would have like known on my own. How do people know this? People are
All this
amazing.
history of like folk music and Appalachia and like bluegrass bands, like, and I
Crazy.
mean, it's plenty good story without knowing any of this stuff. But then there's like so many layers to discover and like unpack.
That's incredible. But yeah, he is an interesting guy because he kicks himself out pretty much by going against Lucy, and then teams up with Sejanus, Loki, to
Low. bad move there, Sejanus.
Yeah. I have more on him that I'll get to a little bit later in the episode, but that's our talk about the members. But I just want to know, who's your favorite member, and if you can't think of one, slash, who do you think is the member that you can relate to the most?
I think I would pick Barb as the one I would relate to the most, just because she's like a little bit older. I don't know. Seems like the responsible one of the group, a little more mature. She also plays like the bass, and I feel like I'd be in the back doing the papa. So
yeah, with some sunglasses on, just
yeah,
like
that's
chilling
me
in the back.
I'm a supporting role.
Oh my gosh, me too. I love that. That's funny though. I didn't feel like, I don't know who I'd relate to the most. I had written it
Who do
down.
you like the most?
Who I like the most is Lucy, obviously, but Maud is so cute, so you have to like Maud. But
I don't know. Sweet kids.
Just between those two.
Who cares about that?
Who cares about the cute little innocent children? I don't know. We don't like Prim, so. But yeah, I would probably, obviously I love Lucy Gray, but if I had to pick like a background character, it'd be Maud Ivory. So just another lighthearted question is, what is your Covey name?
We kind of like talked about this a little while
Yeah,
back.
I forgot mine. But then I think I remembered it. Or I might have stolen yours, to be quite honest with you.
Oh, did you?
I might have.
Mine is Peggy Blue.
Okay, no,
I like the way that it sounds. I feel like it just flows well. Peggy Blue, even though blue is kind of boring, it's not like some cool word for blue, but I love the color blue. And Peggy comes from another like children's book series I love a lot, has a ballad in it, a Cornish ballad, and it has the word Peggy in it. So I took it from that.
Ew.
Peggy Blue.
Mine is so awful. Mine is Annabelle Indigo. I think I picked Indigo.
I remember this. I did suggest Indigo, and then you were like, "Oh, I'll take Indigo."
I'm gonna take it. So I'm surprised I remembered it, to be honest, because the name Annabelle comes from a ballad by Edgar Allan Poe about a man. Let me get this right. So there's Annabelle Lee, and it's thought to be written in memory of Edgar Allan Poe's young wife, and it essentially is a story about him like losing the love of his life, Annabelle, and just like holding her dead body in his arms for a whole night. And I think it's super creepy and super awesome. And Edgar Allan Poe is so interesting to me. So I was like, Annabelle Indigo, I think it sounds fun. So also, it's similar to Annabeth from Percy Jackson. So I was like,
Isn't Annabelle also like a horror movie or something?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
just what I think of first, even though I haven't seen it.
I'm gonna dress up like the doll now.
I like that. Annabelle Indigo. I feel like that's very you.
Look at us. We should have done our introduction as our Cubby names. That's so
we
sad.
Should have. We should redo it.
Cut to, hi, welcome back to Into the Arena. I'm Annabelle Indigo.
Holly, let's do it. Re-record.
Oh my god. Welcome back, tributes, to episode 39 of Into the Arena. I'm Annabelle Indigo.
And I'm Peggy Blue.
No matter what, this is gonna go in.
You can't.
Oh my god. Okay. So if you made it this far in the episode, you know that why our intro means what it means. But yes, so those are our kind of fun questions before we dive a little bit deeper into the Covey. So we talked a little bit about the surviving members of the Covey that make an appearance in the trilogy, aka only Clerk as the fiddler in Annie's Wedding. But let's talk, everyone has a theory about Maud Ivory. I feel like we've talked about this theory like extensively on this podcast.
A few times.
Yeah, so we believe the theory that Maud is related to Katniss. But one thing I wanted to talk about was how the Covey made it past the events of the finale of Ballad as we know it. Because one thing I noted in the history of Tam Amber was that he believed that there were still people living up north from District 12 outside of the influence of the capital. And Lucy makes note of that because she mentions it to Snow and like brushes it off. But then it got me thinking, like, if we know for a fact that Clark survived and lived in District 12, what happened to the rest of the Covey? Part of me wonders if Tam Ember maybe even tried to escape and run north and didn't make it, or if anyone else tried to escape. Another thing was when Sejanus and Billy were caught discussing the weapons at the Hob, Billy had mentioned that Lucy was going to head north with them, meaning we don't know what happens to Lucy, but did Lucy ever end up just going north in that direction because she remembered that comment from Billy to Sejanus and Snow? So I don't know. I'm wondering if I'm just like, there's all these like little pieces where they have these ideas of what could be going on up north.
Yeah, I feel like they don't leave. I feel like they stay in District 12.
But then I have such a problem with that, especially even with the clerk thing, because Snow gets so much power that don't you think he would go back and try to get rid of anyone he would have recognized from 12?
What if one of them was reaped for the Hunger Games? I mean, they don't win. They
Yeah.
die.
Jeez.
That's not a comforting thought.
Yeah.
Or he just doesn't care about them. I mean, what are they going to do to him?
Yeah. But I feel like he would be like, for me, the way that I see Snow is as such a petty character, and like he is so
But
set
he
on
also
revenge.
doesn't get rid of the Hob. Like, I mean, I feel like it
Yeah.
goes to those same questions. Like, he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
get rid of the Hob. He doesn't do anything to make things more strict in District 12.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't get rid of like the house by the lake or anything. I mean,
Yeah,
and
that's
kind of
true.
like why? I guess it's just all like beneath him. Like he's
Yeah,
too cocky in his power. He's so
that's fair.
comfortable by the epilogue. I don't think he could care less about District 12.
That's fair. Yeah. What you're saying also reminds me of him not wanting to waste blood. So, I mean, I feel like the Covey never did anything
Mm.
to him. So maybe that could be it. But I don't know. It's just weird for me because, like I've said during this episode, like anything that Suzanne notes is something that like you need to pay attention to because she keeps it in there for a reason. But then again, Ballad is such a long book. So, like, that's like the give and take of
I
this
almost
book.
feel like that's just kind of a hint at District 13.
Okay.
Or,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not, because why would they be talking about District 13? Like, how would they know that District 13 is now living without the capital's influence? Like, they wouldn't. And
Yeah.
when they would have known of the people of District 13 when they were moving around, they
Mm-hmm.
would have been District 13 under the capital's influence.
Yeah.
So
It's
maybe
just
they're talking
very,
about like whatever Canada has become, like
mm-hmm.
a different country entirely
Yeah.
that's not under the power of the capital because there's some other structure in place or no structure at all. I don't know.
Yeah. It's just weird to me that like there's two mentions of it from two different Covey members. And then one of them actually ends up surviving in 12. So even if like, and I can also imagine if, say, like we know that Clerk is alive because he makes it to 13 post bombing. Um, maybe the other Covey members would have died in the bombing, but I feel like they would be connected in
Or
each
just
other's
died
lives. Yeah, I don't know.
for, old age or illness,
Yeah.
starvation.
I think I would just be interested to know like what happens to them. But again, it's part of like the fun of the mystery, I guess, with like Lucy Gray, but also with the Cubby.
I mean, we know Maud has to stay. Maud Ivory. Sorry. Gotta
On a
use
first name basis.
both names. And then we know Claire Carmine stays.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's, yeah.
Lucy Gray is dead.
Billy's dead.
So it really just leaves
Barb.
Barb and Tam Amber.
Yeah.
I mean, I would see Barb staying, to be honest.
especially if she has like a relationship with somebody
Yeah, that's
in
kind of what I
12.
was thinking.
Yeah.
Like maybe Tim Amber would leave because he's kind of a free spirit.
Yeah, the lost soul. And he is the one that Lucy Gray is like, he keeps mentioning this idea of people up north. So I feel like he would be very, very sold on it.
He
Maybe to
might
the
be the
point where he
one to
dies.
venture
Yeah.
out and try and find Lucy Gray
Hmm.
and what happened to her.
Yeah.
I could see that.
So yeah, I mean, it starts out like so much fun talking about them, but then it's just because we don't know what happens to them, it just gets like
A little
really eerie and
frustrating.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's sad really to think that they were a family who traveled together and
That then like completely broke apart.
yeah, and Snow had to be a big part of that to break them apart. So yeah, I don't know. That was just one thing I wanted to ask was what you thought on what happened to the rest of the Covey.
Nothing good.
Nothing good. It was no sunny side, which segues us into the final point of this episode, the folk music from the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So Suzanne pulled two songs from that were performed by the Covey from history, I guess, which was Keep on the Sunny Side and Oh My Darling Clementine, which again is so fascinating because I just love Suzanne. I'm just gonna keep saying that. That's like the word of the day is like I love Suzanne because she's smart. But Keep on the Sunny Side was performed by the Covey. It was originally a song written in 1899 by Ada Blenkhorn, and it was a gospel hymn. And according to the website I looked at, was apparently inspired by her nephew who always wanted his wheelchair pushed down the sunny side of the street. So that's just what I got
Oh,
from
that's
that.
cool.
I know, it's cute. And then oftentimes, like it was picked up by Johnny Cash and a few other artists and has been known to be sung by like family groups. So I thought it was interesting how she had the Covey sing it and perform it together. But yeah, that's one of the
Cute.
original songs. I know, it's just so wholesome. Like that's one of the nice parts of ballad is Keep on the Sunny
I hope
Side.
they keep like snippets of those songs in the
Mm-hmm.
movie. I mean, I know there's so much music already, but they gotta have them play something, but like at, in the background or something.
Because it's traditional like folk music that would have played in the area. And then the second song that was mentioned was "Oh My Darling Clementine," which Maud Ivory, I think she like kind of like sings that song to distract people or something at one
Oh, my
point.
darling
That was
Clementine.
the one song that I knew from this. This song includes multiple references to mining, and Suzanne made sure to keep that in, even though the mining referenced in this song had to do with gold mining and not coal mining.
Mm.
So, so yeah, I just thought it was interesting that Suzanne Collins incorporated some folk music into ballad because, again, after talking about like the history of Appalachia with Dr. Kamisha Russell, it was really fascinating to hear how music was used and again in ballad. So yeah,
You should definitely read A Place Called District 12
I
because
will
there's
be.
so much in-depth information, like more than is even necessary, I think,
Mm-hmm.
about the styles of music, the different types of ballads that exist, different instruments. I mean, the history of bluegrass music. It's amazing.
So again, I think after learning not only who the Covey members are, but also learning about the music that they played, their names, the ballads their names come from, I am starting to regret how much I hated this book when I first read it because clearly it has meaning behind it, has historical value behind it, and I just think that it makes it so much of a stronger book because of it. Love the
Yeah,
Covey.
me too. My
Yeah.
love for them has grown. I feel like anytime we talk about something ballad related, my love for that and the book as a whole intensifies.
Absolutely.
You were just talking about how your book ranking has changed too.
Yeah. So when I was researching this, I texted Emily. It was like, so my original, so this was probably last year at this time. I don't know. Originally, it was Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Mockingjay, Ballad. And then last year we did our ballad read along and we talked about it with friends. And I was like, oh, never mind. I'm going to say I like The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Ballad, and Mockingjay. But then as like we're getting new content, I mean, it's not just the movies, like doing this research and talking with people and learning more about the characters and the world building. I'm like, it now goes. My order is Hunger Games, Ballad, Catching Fire, Mockingjay. So definitely I never think it will be able to do better. Like it won't do better than the Hunger Games for me.
I can't. There's
But
no
I mean,
way.
it's made it as high up as it possibly could. I remember the first time I finished the book, I was like, what is this trash? But now
Which
I've
I can
learned.
understand, like on a more surface level, especially, I don't know, with
Mhm.
all of our expectations and
Yeah.
like not knowing what it was going to be about and being like, snow, really?
Mhm.
And, you know, wishing we had a Haymitch prequel.
Yeah. Mhm.
There's a lot that I feel like went into that first read through, just like flying through it really quickly to
Mhm.
like finish it and find out what happens. There's so much more to be appreciated, I think, on a slow second or third read through that you
Yeah.
get the first time.
Yeah. So I'm excited to even like I'm working my way through the audiobook right now and read it again. But also, oh, before we go, one last thing. Um, I know you'll like this because I was looking up information on Billy, was that people mentioned that it could be related to Billy the Kid, who Billy the Kid is our Snow. I
Oh my
can't believe I forgot to
goodness.
mention that, but I had to
I mean, I
because
feel like part three of the book does feel kind of like a Western.
yeah, you have
So
said that. So
Jerry
definitely.
said that first, HG_fanboy. And I was like, oh yeah, it does kind of feel like a Western. So then I thought it was so funny that when Tom was cast, that he was Billy the Kid in a Western. Like,
Yeah.
what? Too many connections.
But yeah, so that's our Covey episode. Share with us any of your theories, thoughts, ideas. Thank you again for joining us for this week's episode. Really fun to talk about. Can't wait to talk more ballad as we get more news.
Let us know your
But
Covey name.
yes, Covey name, most important. We should tell everyone to give us a Covey name on Instagram. And yeah, we will see you 2 weeks from now, and then join us for Tribute Talk tomorrow night.
Yep, like always.
Awesome. Bye.
See ya.